Hello and welcome to another lesson on Packet Tracer. Today I'm going to set up two separate networks and we're going to link them together with two routers, and we're going to set up a static route between the two routers. It's quite a complicated process, but once you've done it a few times it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to start off by putting the components of our network together. So end devices, I'm going to put in two PCs each side of the network, and two PCs will be fine. Then I'm going to go to network devices and switches. I'm going to put a 2960 switch to link these two networks together, and then I'm going to go back to routers. I'm just going to pick a generic router just to connect the two networks together. So those are the main components that I need. The next thing I'm going to do is link the cables up very quickly. So it's straight through cables for all of these, the first set that we're doing. So we're getting that. There is an automatic button you can use, which is this one. It automatically picks the right cable, but automatically puts the ports in. There will come a time when you specifically want to pick the ports, so I prefer not to use that. I prefer to manually learn the correct cables to use. So I'm going to connect the switch up to, and I'm going to connect on the inside of the network. I'm going to connect it to 00. Port 3 to 00. So I've connected in our router. There are two network ports. So if I open a router and I show you, there's fast Ethernet port 0 and fast Ethernet port 1. There's actually a couple more on this particular router. You can see them there. There's fiber ports and there's Ethernet ports as well. So going back to the config, there's two ports. I plugged into Ethernet 00. I need to make sure that I switch the port on. You notice that we've still got a red light. And whilst I'm there, I might as well switch port 1 on as well. So switch port 1 on, so activate port 1, and you'll notice it says in the CLI, the command line interface for the operating system for Cisco, it says change state to up. So I've enabled 0 and 1 auto, so they'll auto pick the speed. I need to go to the other router then. You'll notice they are now green and these are red. So I go to the config 00, turn the port on, and 10, turn the port on. And if I click the fast forward time button, you'll see that it's linked up. So I need to connect the cable from router 1 to router 2 here. So I know that it's a crossover cable. So I click the crossover cable and I'm going to pick 10 and I'm going to connect it to 10 this side. So there's the infrastructure made, but I haven't given any IP addresses or anything. So I'm going to use the label in the top right hand side here. Click the label and let's this is going to be the 192.168.100.0 network. So all our addresses will start at 100, and this will be the 192.168.1.0 network. So I need to give these an IP address. So config, so desktop IP configuration 192.168.1.1 for our first computer. I'm not putting a default gateway in yet. That's going to come in later. And this will be IP configuration 192.168.1.2. Yeah. And then the other side of the network is the 100 range. So we've got 192.168.1 100.1, and this will be 100.2. Okay, so we've put our we've given our PCs an IP address, and if we wanted to ping them, so if we open this panel on the right, slide it across, if I was to test the ping between those two, they work nicely. So we've got our network. This is the 100 network, this is the 1 network, but we now need to configure the IP addresses of our routers. So if we come across to our left hand router, and 00 is the port that is plugged to the inside of our network, so we need to give an IP address. So I'm going to call this 192.168.1.254. That's the end of our network. Okay, so I'm going to accept that. The port's on, everything's fine. So let's put a label in so we know what we're doing. So port 00 is 192.168.1.254. And the next 00 here is going to be 192.168.100.254. So we've set up our two IP addresses. So I go to 00, 192.168.100.254, and we're done. So we've set up our internal address range. So this now, we didn't use a gateway earlier. Well, the router, the IP address to get out onto the router and out to the network is actually a gateway. So think of gateway as a gateway out of the network, or a gateway to another part of a network. So the IP address that we've just assigned to the internal card of our router that lets us navigate out becomes the gateway. So we'll need to bear that in mind in a few moments. So I now need to assign an IP address to the cable that links these two together. I'm going to call it a 10.0.0.1 and 10.0.0.2. So this is port 10, and this is what's going to allow us to hop between networks. It's called a hop, as we'll find out in a moment. So this cable that we see here is going to talk on the network 10.0.0.1. So this one links perhaps two separate buildings together. So I need to go into this switch. I need to go into 10.0.0.1, and it'll give us 255.0.0.0.0. That's fine. And it's switched on. And I need to give this one 10.0.0.2. So we've now configured everything, and so basically internally our gateways are 254 and 100.254, and then externally our network is joined by the 10 range, a separate range. So if I was to, I'm going to delete this. If I send an envelope between the two switches, they haven't worked yet, but if we give them a little bit of time, they should eventually become live. Let's try one more time. Yeah, successful. I cheated a bit. I did fast forward time. What you'll find is the command line interface here was configuring it, and it needed a bit of time for the router to sort of learn about each other. So we've set the path up. So now if I try to ping from here to here, we know it works, successful. What if I try to ping from here to here? It failed. And if I ping here to the router, we're successful. So I can ping here, I can ping to the router, but I can't get out. And that's because our PCs haven't been configured with a gateway. So if I now go in to our IP configuration and put a gateway address in, 192.168.100.254, put that in, and I put the gateway in here as well. And now I try to ping. I'll fast forward time on sheet. We can now ping. So I'll need to do the same on this side of the network. 192.168.1.254. Same here. Okay, so now if I delete these and ping the router just to make sure it works, everything's fine. So what if I try to ping this computer to this computer? It's got the gateways, so there's no reason why it shouldn't, everything pings, so there's no reason why it shouldn't work. So I'll go from here to here, and it's failed. And that's because we haven't given the routers what we call a static route out. So what we need to do is we need to tell this router here on the left that it needs to send its traffic in a hop to 10.0.0.2, and when it gets there it needs to communicate on the 192.168.100.0 network. And then on this side we need to say that this router needs to send its traffic, or a hop, the next destination is 10.0.0.1, and when it gets there it's going to be talking on the 192.168.1.0 network. So it's two halves. The side on the left needs the details on the right, and the static route on the right needs the details on the left. So we'll go in and configure that. So let's go into the router, and now we need to go to static. There's RIP routing as well, but we're going to concentrate on static routing today. So the network is going to be the network we're going to talk on. So we're on this side, so we need this network 100.0. So 192.168.100.0, that's the network we're going to talk on. 255.255.255.0 in our case, and the next hop is this side. So on this left hand side I'm putting the right hand side's details in. So the next hop is 10.0.0.2. When I add this in, you'll see it's IP route 192. So it's basically what I've done there is basically what you would have done in the command line interface. You'd have typed that in. So we've got our route in. So now I need to go on this side of the network. I need to go to static. The network is 192.168.1.0. The mask 255.255.0, and the hop from here to there is 10.0.0.1. So I add that in, and we've put that in. So basically what we've done is I've said that internally the network travels around this network, but when it wants to get out, it goes onto the internal network card. It goes into 0.0, and once it gets onto 0.0, the route is configured to send traffic across to 10.0.0.1, where it becomes part of the 192.168.1.0 network, and vice versa. And I click fast forward time, and now I'm going to delete this. I'm going to click an envelope here, and I'm going to click an envelope here, and we're going to have to hope that it works. So let's go. And it's successful. And I click from this side over, and it's successful. So there we've done quite a complex task. We've configured two routers to communicate with each other, and we've learned how to test the traffic works. So the main keys to this exercise were making sure that the network ports were turned on, making sure that these machines have a gateway, and make sure that they can all ping each other. Next time I'll show you how to do how to simulate traffic across the entire network. We do that with a similar process, but you'll see it shows you a more we can speed things up. It shows me how the network travels, and it shows us through each switch. So you can see that we see in the envelope go from here to here to here, back, and then it should reach here, and then it should tell us if it's worked or not. And I can fast forward all the way through, and this is called our OSI model, and it's showing us how data travels around the network. But we're not going to worry with that today. That's for another lesson. So I hope you found how to set up routers and static routing helpful, and I'll see you for the next lesson. Thank you for listening.